Good afternoon. It's November 11th here in Bakersfield, California. Was out walking this morning as I usually do with the Weasel, and we had a flyby little air show because it is Veterans Day. Kind of a nice touch today with COVID going on. I was driving through the southwest town out here door dashing. I saw this long line of cars with flags, a lot of classic cars and stuff. And then it dawned on me, they brought the parade to the veterans. There's quite a few retirement homes areas out here. And so it looks like they were driving around, and it was kind of nice to see the veterans were out front in their, sitting there, and the cars were driving by them. So they brought the parade to them. Yep, this week we do have a race here in Bakersfield. Speaking of traditions, this race, it's not that big of a tradition, but it's been around since 2014, which for Bakersfield is kind of a long time. Bakersfield has a lot of races, but most of them are on our bike path, which you see me on many, many times. It's a great bike path that goes 15 miles, and it's probably 40 miles. I think my friend Diego Diaz did a 40-mile FKT on it. So, from my house, it goes 15 miles out the Enos Lane, and then I can go all the way out to Lake Ming, which is where the Judgment Day race used to start. Well, it didn't used to. That's its traditional start. Of course, this year with COVID and everything, we're not going to get that kind of start. If you notice, I'm in my car, and it's like so hazy and our air quality. I don't know if there's still fires in California. I don't even try and keep track of it. But anyway, so way back years ago, early 2010, 2011, when I first started getting into ultras, Bakersfield's never had a shoe store and probably never really needed one. We got all kinds of chains, and of course nowadays with the internet. But out of the blue, I got a message somehow from Scott, who was up in the Fresno area, and he was opening up stores, and he wanted to open up one in Bakersfield. And he Googled and found out that I was here in town. And so we had lunch and, talked about the stores. He ended up opening up Soul to Soul Sports here at the marketplace, which I'm nearby out here in Southwest Bakersfield. Just sitting here at a park waiting for an order. In fact, usually whenever I get on the video, I'll get an order. Been some pretty crummy orders today, though. So he got a hold of me, and then he also wanted to put on races. And one thing led to the other. He started a half marathon series, and he had Heavenly Half, Hell of a Half. Heavenly Half was up in the mountains, downhill course. Hell of a Half was in August, really hot with a big old hill. And then he had Judgment Day, which is in October here in Bakersfield. So Heavenly was up in the mountains. Hell of a Half was in Exeter up the road from us. And he wanted to put on a race, and he wanted to actually do it on the streets of Bakersfield, which is something we very rarely had in Bakersfield. I mean, when I started running in the late 70s, 80s, we had a few road races, and then pretty much everything got shut down. Even the police race, which at one time was on the streets of Bakersfield, wasn't anymore. And, it's a lot of it's just getting permits and nobody wanting to work with you, police department not wanting to deal. So Scott got a hold of me because I help him with a lot of races, and he was trying to come up with race ideas, and he wanted a point-to-point course. And at first we were thinking of going from like Highland High to downtown, and then we fell on going from Lake Ming to Sam Lynn Ballpark, and it almost exactly 13 miles, which was good. And he went through all the process of trying to get permits, and they just ham and hawed. He was running through, I think, the county and the city, and push come to shove, they just were not going to budge, and they weren't going to give the permits. And so we talked quite a bit, and then I came up with a course that basically didn't go on any roads. It was more like a trail race and then some bike path. And so he got a hold of the city and said, okay, the authorities. He said, okay, well, we just won't even go on your streets. And then all of a sudden they changed their tune because they realized, that the police department's going to make quite a bit of money being a Sunday race and overtime. And so the course got laid out. It was point to point, Lake Ming to Sam Lynn Ballpark, where the Bakersfield Dodgers used to play. Now it's the Train Robbers or something like that. And it was a fun race. You had to ship everybody over there and run fast, fun course. I think when I was looking at my Google photos, the first one was in 2014. I ran my best one there in 2016. I have a summer of veganism and putting in, I did the Pacific Crest Trail. I decided to try and do the entire mileage in one summer, and it took me 130 days to go 2,600 miles. So I did 20 miles a day. So I went out there and ran like a 2:19 marathon, half marathon, which for me was fast. It was kind of surprising. Since then, I pretty much just either sweep the race or hang out and take photos, and I really haven't raced it very often. And in fact, this year I will be the sweeper because it was canceled. It's always in October. but they've got permission to put on the race, and knock on wood, we will have the race this weekend. Scott, of course, sold to Soul Sports and sold the series, so he's not putting on any longer, but they're going to have it. They're going to have COVID protocols, answering all the questions, wearing masks before the start, having a staggered start, and not getting together after the race. It's always been a great race with really great t-shirt, great medals, great meal after the race. What I really appreciate is, they have like pancake sausage and all the fixings, and they have it even for the people coming in, 3 hours and longer. In fact, the cutoff is 3.5 hours, which is what I'll be doing the 16-minute pace as the sweeper. Got it all hooked up with Race Choice so they can keep track of me. And so I'm really looking forward to Sunday. It's one of the first races in Bakersfield since, the last one I ran was on February 29th, and I don't think really we've had an official real race in town. So really looking forward to it. It's actually one of the races I always say is a ReDoable, kind of a play on the whole rewatchables that Bill Simmons does with movies. This is definitely a ReDoable race, and in the future I highly recommend you coming to Bakersfield and doing the race. It's a beautiful course, really well run, and just a good time, and you can go fast too because the weather's pretty good. Despite, like I was saying, you can kind of see the haze we've got today, but first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock, be chilly, clean, cool air, and looking forward to helping people get to the finish and make that cutoff. So as always, stay healthy, be boring, not epic.